Alright guys, Fulu coming to you with another video. I hope all is well. Um, I hate to make this video, but I'm gonna be honest with you. In this gender war, as I said in the previous video, you have a couple of enemies. And I'm discovering like day by day that you're gonna have these enemies. Okay. Um, eh, the first enemy, of course, is modern women. That's the first enemy. That's the first and foremost enemy is modern women. They're by default, modern Western women. That by default, they're your number one enemy. Okay, because their word and their actions can literally like basically make or break you. You know what I mean? In terms of your finances, in terms of your spirit, in terms of just everything. If you invest your time, effort, and things into them, you've seen it all before. I mean, it's rampant. It's rampant. Now, now, I talked about the would-be Pookie and Ray Ray guy who feels like he's not cut from Pookie or Ray Ray's cloth, but seeing that that's what modern women like, he tries to exert that into the air, put that energy in the air, only to be met with maybe repercussions that he didn't want, because he was not really built like that. He never really came from that. That's the enemy number 2. Now, number 3, I learned, is another enemy. Okay, there's another enemy, and I was very surprised at this enemy. Okay, another enemy is actually the effeminate man. And I'm gonna read. I like to actually do things with Hadiths now, or with Quranic injunctions now, because of the simple fact that when you include a Hadith or Quranic injunction, you see where I'm coming from, and you also see how it relates to what is going on right now. So in a book, I think this is I believe this is that this is in Bukhari. This is in Bukhari. This is in Bukhari. So the Nailatu alayhi salatu salam, I like to say Nailatu alayhi salatu salam was Nailatu alayhi salatu salam, he was a Sigma male, he was a shaman, he was a philosopher, he was a warrior, he was masculine, he was a foreseer, he was a intellectual, he was a family man, he was a merchant, he was a shepherd. He was basically all the cosmos, all the universe were put into one man. That's the way to describe Nailatu alayhi salatu salam. So it's as if he saw what was coming, it's as if there was a GPS screen in front of him, or a hologram GPS, and he's like, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is where y'all are headed. Okay? Throughout the world. So, with that being said, this was in which we'll call it our so most of these hadiths, because and that's another topic in itself, like which one call it in when it comes to hadiths, and which ones are sahih and which ones are da'if, which means which ones are strong and which ones are weak. These are taken from Sahih Bukhari, and for those of you guys who don't know, Bukhari is one of the soundest narrators of hadiths. Now, it was said that Nailatu alayhi salatu salam was basically he cursed those men who are in the similitude and assume the manners of women, and those women who are in the similitude assume the manners of men. Okay, so another thing also what was said is Nailatu alayhi salatu salam said in the same like hadith book, he said that he alayhi salatu salam said he cursed the effeminate man, those men who are in the similitude or assume the manners of women, and those women who assume the manners of men. He said, turn them out of your houses. The Prophet turned out such and such men, and Umar turned out such and such women. So here you see that they wouldn't even go near those people. They wouldn't have any interactions with those people. So where do we stand right now? That means you have to do double overtime to protect your energy. And what are most women right now? What are most modern women? Masculine. They have the mannerisms of men now. Even the other day, I kid you not, there was one woman, okay? I was in a eatery, okay? This one woman burped so loud, and she said, that was a good one, with a deep ass voice. And then it was like, yo, like, are you serious? Does this woman have any manners? Does she have any shame? I was like, yo. So Nailatu alayhi salatu salam predicted this was coming. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be really, really, really quite frank with you and really honest. It's been at least the only time I hear a woman talk like she's a woman and has a soft, gentle voice is when I talk to my family back home. When I talk to my family back home, they're still having soft, gentle voices. But most modern women have, I'm sorry to say it, and not all of them, I'm not going to just put them all, but most modern women have these deep voices, okay, these husky voices, because they have taken mannerisms on that a man has so much. They want to be men so badly. They want to do what men do so badly that Allah basically Allah said this. He said, okay, since you want to meet me halfway there, I'm going to meet you at the finish line. Not literally, not literally in that sense, but in the sense that their voices are deeper. Like, I'm not going to lie, a lot of them have mustaches. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. Okay, and that comes from trying to take on energy that a man has. And then another thing that's crazy about this whole situation is that you have women who basically will identify themselves as alpha females. It's like, what the hell? Like, so what do you mean? You're gonna be like, you're basically telling me you're gonna bump heads with your spouse or your significant other because you want to assert dominance over that person because you view yourself as an alpha female, quote unquote. Now, the big, unfortunately, the big enemy is the effeminate man, because like the would-be Pookie Ray Ray, he feels like he has something to prove. Most of the time, an effeminate man falls in a couple of categories. The first category is that they don't control their household. So they may be married, they may have kids and stuff like that, but they're at their wife's beck and call. They're there to serve their wife only. They're not even controlling anything in the household. They're not even asserting themselves as the head of the household. They're simply an ATM for their wife. So because this is going on at their house, right? This is going on at their house. They have the nerve to try to bring it into the public. So what will happen is, because they're effeminate, because they're emasculated, they're gonna have manners like a woman. So when you look at a woman, you know, fussy, likes to cause scenes, thinks with their emotions first before thinking logically, they act that out in public. And another characteristic, and no, I don't check out men, if that's what you're, if you assume this from this video. But you'll notice that effeminate men, they will actually take on the shape of a woman too. Like, they'll start to have like hips like a woman. They'll start to even walk like a woman. Okay. Now, another thing too, another category of an effeminate man most of the time is when they're in, like, let's say their girlfriend, let's say they have a girlfriend, and their girlfriend is like masculine. Their girlfriend is like, you know, they're pretty much at the beck and call of their girlfriend, buying her all these things. She's with him for pity and things like that. They have to lash out on the guy. They have to lash out on the guy who doesn't mind being single, who doesn't mind walking his own path, and who knows the dangers of modern women and will not, which we call it, compromise his values, his standards, his mind that he pushes, and the oaths that he's taken to uphold those lines. So what happens, this comes in the form of dirty looks. This comes in the form of like just like goofy behavior. All right, very, very goofy behavior. Even today. And I usually don't do this, but I said out loud. I said out loud. I was like sending off a package, and there was this one that, you know, I hate to say it, but like most of it comes from it be coming from people of your own complexion. But you know, I don't make any discrimination when I have to like assert myself or let people know that, hey, you know, this ain't gonna go down. But what happened was, there was this guy who was, when I was sending the package or whatever the case may be, he just stared. He was just staring endlessly. And I said, what the F are you looking at? You know, I said that. I said, what the F are you looking at, man? For real. I straight out said it. You know? And then finally he just mumbled something to himself. You know? So another thing too that like effeminate men will do to you is they will try to trigger you, and it's your job to hold restraint. Because although they play stupid games, you don't want to win the stupid prize, because the thing is, if you beat them up and show and like basically assert yourself to them, what's gonna happen is they're gonna have the need to you know have some get back, and then that get back can prove costly to you. And another characteristic of an effeminate man is they have the need to be surrounded, they have the need to be validated by people, they have the need to be in a group, much like a woman. They have the need for someone to say certain things. What an effeminate man will say is they'll say things like oh yeah, I was with a bad ish the other day, and they'll brag about it and stuff like that, much in the form of how a woman would brag about, like how she has guys all over her and things like that. Same thing, same kind of same kind of like, I want to say same kind of dynamic, right? Now, with this being said, with us saying these things, right? You have to be on deck, okay? I want to talk about one more category when it comes to the effeminate man. I mean, I don't really need to talk that much more about the masculine woman, because of the simple fact she shows herself every time, right? So now one characteristic of one characteristic of the effeminate man is he usually had no father figure or no real man in his life to instill virtues upon virtues of like what it is to be a stand-up person, what it is to stay down, what it is to be like having like integrity, what it is to have these sort of things. They never usually had that, okay? And because they didn't have that, their mannerisms are going to be like their mothers, which are largely like combative, largely fickle, and things like that. And because they did not separate themselves from their mom, and what I mean by separate, they didn't say, you know what, I'm gonna go on like a trip or a journey, like somewhere where I can like kind of like get some kind of like a different perspective and still check in with my mom and stuff like that. They didn't do that. They stayed attached with their mom, because here, what they say here in America is like mom's always right. They say that. They don't say dad's always right. They say mom is always right. And so they have those characteristics, And the thing is about it, you really need to be careful, because they will lash out and they will try to provoke you. Okay? They will try to subtly provoke you. They will try to do little things to get on your nerves, because they have these effeminate mannerisms. Allah has already cursed them, however, so you're in luck. Okay? Allah has already cursed them, and usually that curse reveals itself when they meet the right one, and the right one is gonna like do them in, Unfortunately, I had to be the right one a couple of times, I had, and I don't advocate violence. Don't think I advocate violence, but I know this is gonna sound far-fetched, but in this world today, where right is wrong and wrong is right, and you're trying to be right, you're sincerely trying to be right, you're sincerely trying to uphold what you believe in to be the truth, you're trying to uphold your truth, which doesn't harm people, and which, like, you know, does what it needs to do, you will have enemies. You will have effeminate enemies, and what the case may be. With that being said, I know this sounds crazy what I'm about to say, but I usually don't like give myself titles or anything like that. But I equate myself to maybe a black Jason Bourne. Because the thing is, Jason Bourne, there were people on his head. He had so many ops. And most of the time, Jason Bourne was by himself. And in the Bourne series, all he was trying to do was to rediscover who he was. Right? And so, with that being said, he had many ops. And unfortunately, I have many ops. But I will never compromise my values, even if that means me having, that it would mean that I will have less ops. I will never conform to this society, even if it means I will have less ops. I will never submit myself to authority the gynocracy and the sisterhood authority that produces these men, even if it means my death. But with that being said, Fula signing out. Leave your thoughts and leave your comments. I'm off until the next one. Njad on.